From the garage that sparked the global self-care movement, welcome to the Human Garage Experience, a podcast where we have unfiltered conversations on self-healing, consciousness, and optimizing your life with fascinating individuals changing the status quo. I'm your host, Garry Lineham, and I'm honored to have you here. Let's get down to it. I've been watching you from afar for 30 years, and I've always seen you pop up, and there's people in my life where I'll think about them, or I'll see them, or they pop up in a feed, or they pop up somewhere in a story, or I'll watch something, or I'll turn on a documentary, and you'll be there. Mm-hmm. And then somewhere later in my life, and this is my later, I end up finding out why. I found out today that you're a Grand Master Cancer, mm-hmm. which is a 29 degree, I'm a 29 degree Sagittarius. So in a way that kind of makes us brothers.
Right. Not a lot of 29s out there.
There's not. Which means that you're going to express whatever yours is, which is fatherly love and caregiving at a global stage, mm-hmm. which you've done. I look back and I say, what was the turning point for you that brought you to this? I mean, everybody has a 29 degree. That means you had to have something very, very rough that you went through earlier in your life to get to the point where you are today.
Mm-hmm. I think as a young person, I had a strong intuition, and I didn't have a lot of trauma growing up, mm-hmm. Just basic childhood stuff. And then I always had an inner desire to make a difference on the planet. I can remember when I was 11 or 12, 10 maybe, laying on my front lawn looking up at the sky with a friend of mine, and we wanted to make a difference on the planet. So it's kid stuff, yeah.
But it's directed at the planet, which is that 29 degree.
Yes, it was about planetary, the language that we had at that time. And so went off to college, went to Morehouse College, moved back to Los Angeles, and I was a part of a group to want to change the world by any means necessary. It's very revolutionary.
Sure.
And so I can remember sitting in a meeting, and someone behind me said, if you were to take over the world tomorrow, would the world be any different? So I looked back, and there was nobody standing there. Meeting continued. The voice came again, but it came from within me. If you were to take over the world tomorrow, would the world be any different? And so I looked around the room, and I could see the pathology of the people I was meeting with. Territorialism, big ego, always had to be right. I could see all this. And I realized, regardless of our ideology, the world wasn't going to be any different if we took over. So I left, never came back to that meeting.
Right.
The next week, somebody in that meeting shot somebody. An argument ensued. Somebody got shot, but I wasn't there. So I enrolled in USC, psychobiology major. I was going to go to med school. And two things happened. One, I used to smoke weed at that time. And I used to sell weed at that time in order to pay for SC. It was very expensive. The scholarship hadn't kicked in yet. And so two things occurred. One, I began to have a series of inner experiences that allowed me to say, okay, I'm not smoking weed anymore. This is, whatever's happening to me must be, initiated by the marijuana smoking. So I stopped, but they intensified. I started astral traveling. I could go to my mom's house, call her up. Do you have a blue dress on? She'd say yes. So all these things were going on, but I had no context for what was happening to me.
Sure.
I thought it was all pathological. I had a series of dreams, and one of the dreams, which I had consistently, was these three men chasing me. And I would always wake up in time before they could catch me. It's very lucid. But every night, they were a little closer. So one night, they were very close, and I could make out their face. And I looked to my right, and there was a small tent with thousands and thousands of people trying to fit into this small tent. I knew every single person. It was so many people. I knew them all. And I said to myself, these guys can't hurt me. My friends are with me. One by one, they turned their back on me. Two of the men held me down, and one plunged a knife in my heart. The pain physically was excruciating and emotionally, and I died. And when I came out of that, I could see differently. The beauty everywhere. You know, I could see behind me without my eyes, I could see everywhere. Just tremendous beauty everywhere. And the love that penetrated my being was beyond anything I'd ever experienced. I could never get back in that box. Around the same time, I got arrested on my last dope deal. And it's like 200 pounds of marijuana, kilos, guns, semi-automatic rifles, Lugers, all kinds of stuff. It's the only time in my life that ever had that stuff in my private house.
Right.
I always had a stash house, but it's one time my guy was out of town. I said, okay, you can meet me at my house. So while I was sitting in the meeting, you know, exchanging the weed and the money, I felt something, and I said, you have to leave right now. Something's happening. And ultimately, I'll just make a long story short, I got arrested, and for, you know, the guns and for the weed and et cetera, et cetera. And the inner voice said, you're walking away from this. You're not going to have any record. So everyone thought I was crazy. I kept going to school. You know, there kept being continuances with the trial.
Right.
And I'm sitting in the courtroom reading meditation books. That first book, one of the first books I read was Chaotic Meditation by Osho. His name was Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh at the time. A little pamphlet. I'm reading that. I'm reading a bunch of meditation books. I have no concern about the case. I've already been told. So I'm sitting there, and the assistant to the attorney that I hired is questioning this police officer, a motorcycle cop who wasn't even on the scene, and says to him, you know, why did you go to Mr. Beckwith's house? And he said, well, the informant told us a big drug deal was going on. We got a search warrant. We staked out the house. When we saw the delivery, rushed in and got him. Now, none of that was true. He was lying, but that's beside the case.
Yeah.
So the assistant attorney said, that's hearsay evidence, and we demand that the informant come and testify and identify the accused, me. The judge called everybody to the stand and said, we need the informant here within 3 days. Come back to court 3 days later, and the prosecutor says, the informant is afraid for his life. He will not come. And the judge says, Mr. Beckwith, I have no other recourse. I have to set you free. I hope I never see you in my courtroom again. So I walked out, no record, nothing. I went home, and the house next to me had a weather vane. And obviously the weather vane was pointing in the direction that the wind was going. And I remember saying, if this experience means what I think it means in terms of my destiny, in terms of what I'm supposed to do in the world, I want that weather vane to point in my direction against the wind. And before I could even mouth the words, the weather vane turned immediately right at me. And I broke down and just started crying and surrendered my life to the grand presence, the living one, whatever word you want to use.
Sure.
And never looked back. And my life began to unfold. Now, during that brief period of time that I was selling cannabis sativas, I had a lot of interesting experiences with some very shady people.
Sure.
And I had to become something in order to survive in that world. And no one wanted to mess with me because they knew I didn't care whether I lived or died, so the deal better come out well, or we're all going. That guy died. My trajectory of my life changed. Obviously, I didn't go to med school. I saw the shallowness of it in terms of a lack of healing, good people, but a lack of healing substance. And my life just kind of unfolded in a different way that allows me to be here today. But there was a lot of changes along the way. A lot of inner...
What age were you?
In my 20s.
What?
Young 20s.
Because I asked you before we started
1974, I was at SC. So this was around 1975 that this began to happen.
Because I asked you earlier, what happened at 26 years old?
Yeah, 26, 27, something happened, and it was like a big, another spiritual opening.
Because that's when you came in here, I asked you that because that's the way I look at astrology, that's what it said.
Yeah.
That's where the turning point.
Yeah, it was around that age something happened, and it was another spiritual awakening that took place. That, keep in mind, during these early days, I hadn't studied anything. Everything was just getting direct. It was just direct encounter with the presence. I would feel sometimes these beings mess with my brain. I was working with a lot of teachers on the other side. I didn't know who they were.
That was in Scorpio, so that means it came from the other side.
Yeah, it was totally from the other side. All the stuff back in those days, it was not about books, not about teachers. It was nothing in this realm. It was all otherworldly, but very real to me. And I assimilated that. And so when I started to read books, I could say, oh, that's right, that's true. Matter of fact, around that age, I remember reading, it may have been the Upanishads, but anyway, I was reading about Atman presence and Paramatman, and the letters would literally light up in the book. And I knew everything in the book. And I changed my name to Paramatman. There was a period of time where that was my spiritual name. Mm-hmm. And I produced a little newsletter that had my musings in it for a period of time. And then later on, I changed my name back to Michael because I wanted Michael to evolve. I didn't want to be in these higher realms without integration.
Sure.
So I grabbed Michael back to let him unfold based on the integration of the frequencies I was holding. So that's really a short synopsis of a lot of stuff that happened that around that 20-something age. Yeah.
I was with my wife today talking about this, and she spent a lot of years with Dr. Levery, who you know.
Right.
And she told me to ask specifically today about chaos.
But chaos?
Yeah, and you were talking just a minute ago about the chaos meditation.
Chaotic meditation, yes, what it's called. Yeah.
And so what does chaotic or chaos mean in your life? And because a lot of people are going through that right now, arguably.
Uh-huh.
And what does chaos mean to you? And when does it come into your life?
Today, chaos means that something new is trying to be born.
Right.
That if you step back far enough from chaos, you will see an underlying order that's trying to emerge. But as it's emerging, it's creating havoc at the limited paradigms people are living in.
Sure.
So I always like the term chaotic.
Chaotic.
It's chaos, but there's an underlying order that's trying to emerge.
Yeah.
And so often the average person gets caught in the chaos.
Right. They see it as chaos. And
yeah.
As a matter of fact, I'm happy to say, because I respect you so much, I'm happy to say that my answer sounded very much like yours today.
We're in sync.
Yeah, we are in sync.
Yeah. I mean, a chrysalis is chaotic.
Sure.
Chaotic. This is the death of one aspect of a caterpillar, tremendous chaos, but the order is the butterfly trying to emerge. Mm-hmm. So I think it's the same thing with us as human beings.
So you had this dream where you were stabbed in the heart, and viscerally you got up and felt like you had died and been reborn, and things started changing around you.
My whole trajectory changed and my priority changed. And interestingly enough, that pain in my heart lasted for a long time. I used to have tremendous pain where the ambulance would be called to my house because I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
Tremendous pain. And I eventually went to an energy balancing person. And they did something to the bottom of my spine, and it freed all this energy. And he told me that I had bad something posture. I can't remember what the word he used at the time. And that I had to do particular exercises to open all of this up, open my heart space up. But he said that the energy was trying to come through me was more powerful than my body could handle at the time.
Right. Based on your astrology, it says that is going to come in. You have to go through a crisis of caregiving to yourself.
Yes.
In order for you to bring caregiving to the world.
Right. Yeah.
And what you're telling me is actually what you went through.
Yeah, right. And then as I started to expand with spiritual practice, intentionality, nutrition, etc., the energy would flow more smoothly and I had less and less pain. I don't have it now, but every now and then there'll be a hit And it just lets me know that there's more energy trying to come through and I have to expand again.
Mm-hmm. When that happens, what do you do?
I basically breathe, breathe, slow down, breathe, expand.
Yeah, I can feel it. I feel incredibly in sync with you right now, which is amazing. 'Cause there's not too many people I actually feel in sync with. There's a lot of judgment in people's pasts to try to regulate society today. I'll use the word shame because that's actually
Absolutely.
that's a way that people try to regulate. I mean, in my own life, I went through a similar situation, but I did end up incarcerated for 27 months. And slightly different angle, but that moment is what taught me something.
Right.
But for me, I feel like the difference was I had to be put away for a period of time in order for me to make that transformation. I wasn't awake enough to experience that myself.
Right.
And what is it about shame that you see currently in the world today that is, or how do you, maybe a better way to say this is, how do you see it being distributed in the world today to try to control and regulate people?
I think shame and blame is how people are controlled. Individuals who have a limited perception and live in the consciousness of I'm right and those that aren't with me are wrong, that's how they control. Shame, blame, you're wrong. The thing about it is you talked about people's past, and I've always loved this statement that every sinner has a future and every saint has a past, and so
It's a well put up.
so everybody's on their own journey of unfoldment. So we really have to learn how to stay out of judgment about people. Now the culture today has become a cancel culture in many ways. So if somebody has made a mistake, they're just written off. They're just written off almost forever. Particularly now that you have internet and social media and things that last for a long time, that when someone does something out of integrity with their soul, they're canceled. There's no redemption. You can't redeem that person anymore. They're cast aside, and that's a very low level. That's not civilization. That's uncivilization. You see. So as every great path has taught, every great path, whatever religion is, if it's been born out of an insight of a great being, always has redemption in it, always has forgiveness, always has the process of making amends, it always has transformation involved in it. And so as people are pointing fingers, canceling people, and shaming and blaming people and keeping them stuck in that box, that's a very low level of consciousness.
Sure.
Yeah.
The way that is being distributed today, I mean, like you said, it's enormous. And we actually have some mutual friends that have been shamed out of their lives. Shame has been taught to us by some way. Like one of the ways that I tell people is that earlier distributions of how we regulate shame are in games we play as a kid. One of them is tag, you're it. Tag, you're it is really how to distribute shame.
Right.
And we have these insidious ways of programming our children and programming our youth into this. But the one thing that you started off with is you started off with the remedy for shame. The remedy for shame is you told your worst story.
It has no sting in me at this.
Right. Because no one can do anything about it.
Yeah, yeah. The other insidious game is musical chairs.
Yeah.
It teaches scarcity.
Yeah.
There's not enough chairs, so every chair, we eliminate another one. And then finally, someone loses, somebody has a chair and everybody else doesn't. And so that's another insidious childhood game that teaches separation, competition, and lack and scarcity.
And we, unfortunately, too, the world actually operates that way. Like you can see it in marketing. Marketing is about fear of missing out.
Right.
And people's behavior as society, as individuals, it's almost like if they're not going to miss out, they don't do it. That's a lot of what the celebrity and the and the last chance industry is all about. But
Right.
that really actually what drives people to events and things like that. And there's a fear.
Or to buy things they don't need.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
4 decades you've been doing this, and you woke up really early.
Yeah.
You've seen leaders, nations, rise and fall. You've been to United Nations. You've worked with people like Oprah. You've worked with governments, agencies. You've seen spiritual leaders rise and fall. It seems like to me that there is a change in the guard of leadership and spirituality. Would you say that that's accurate?
Yeah, I think there's a sea change happening on the planet.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that on a couple of levels. One, we've reached the apex of regular evolution, and now we're at the beginning of conscious evolution, where people can actually evolve not through an external circumstance happening to them, but they can evolve through practice and choice and intention.
Thanks for watching and tuning in. These conversations have radically shifted my life, and I want you to experience those radical shifts too. Take these conversations and integrate them into your body by joining one of our fascial maneuver reset programs. Introduction to fascial maneuvers, 7-day reset or 28-day reset. We're going to put the links below. Take that cerebral knowledge and that experience that you're having right now and bring it into your life by resetting it in your body. These programs have radically shifted my life, and I know they'll radically shift yours. Don't wait another moment. Reset your life today.
Also, what's been seeded over the last 40 or 50 years is the perennial religion being articulated in a way that the average person can understand it. So that you go back 40, 50 years ago, a lot of what we're dealing with now is woo-woo. Now it's science.
Right.
And so the articulation of spiritual principles are now scientifically proven. You have biofeedback, you have epigenetics, you have quantum physics, you have evolutionary biology. That was
Because these were all things that at one point people said you're woo, you're
crazy.
weird,
They were
crazy. When you started,
our friend
that
Bruce Lipton was kicked out of school, kicked off the campus for teaching this stuff, And so now it's science. So I think these things that are seeded into the population now are beginning to percolate. What does that mean? It means chaos. Vibrationally, it means that old paradigms have to break down. There's going to be more chaos. And at the same time, those in the old paradigm are going to hold on even harder, And so we're looking at that on the planet right now.
That's happening today.
It's happening right today.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Governments, politics, separation, scarcity, lack, hate. It's at an all-time high. But I would say that because of the technology we now have, we now can see it, whereas years ago, it would take weeks for news to get to people about something, and then it'd be old. Whereas now, you see it unfolding right now on social media. And then you see the lies being told on regular media. It's happening instantly. So it appears to be more, and it is more intense, but I think that what our role is to be the reporters of the new. You have the reporters of the old that are breaking down. They control the media, they're head of governments, and they're conditioning people's minds. But there's something else rising. And I think our role is to report the new, just as they're reporting the old.
I agree.
So there's a clash.
I agree.
There's a clash. And the new is evil.
Of course.
The new, we're the bad guys.
Yeah, of course. But this is also happening in the spiritual community. The guru, I don't know anybody who would say that you're a guru, but there's a lot of people that have been around you, even taught at your center, that people would call gurus, and it seems like the facade in a lot of them is also coming down now.
Yeah.
And why do you think that's happening?
Well, I think people have learned or are learning that what is said by every guru, what is said by every authentic teacher, that all of the power, all of the presence, all of the love, all of the intelligence is in you, and I think that is now sinking in.
Right.
And so the whole guru model, which was very substantial and very beautiful for years and years and years and years, is, and there are some good gurus out there. I mean, I know a couple.
Yeah, I completely agree.
That are authentic, not trying to, get power or fame from people. And at the same time, that whole model is kind of shifting now. The people are beginning to understand the axis of power is within their own soul.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot, like be your own guru. The guru's inside of you, but follow me. There's been a lot of that too. I really believe that actually just is a commercial play.
Yeah. One of our models at Agape is, I'm not here for followership. I'm here for leadership. I'm here to teach leaders.
Right.
Don't follow. Follow your inner guidance. Practice so that you can hear the guidance and the wisdom speaking in a language and in a way that you can understand. I'll encourage, I'll uplift, I'll be a point of inspiration. But you're not going to fly into realms of heaven on the wings of anybody else's work. Mm-hmm. It has to be your own work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for somebody myself who's always taken other people's things my whole life and built them up, my journey to find where my mark in the world was going to be left it came a lot later in my 50s. Mm-hmm. And that's why when I looked at you, obviously you did this in your 20s, and I even questioned myself, like, why did it take so long for this to come about in my life? Do you see people today that or people that you have around you that you can see it in them, but they don't yet see it in themselves?
Oh, yes, that's standard. That's standard policy. When a person comes in, they don't see themselves. So they end up seeing themselves through the eyes of individuals that can see the truth about them, because they have all this other noise from the other voices that are putting them down, that they use to put themselves down. So when they come into our field, they're able to finally feel or to see who they can possibly be. So that then happens. And then I would think that most people don't do their major work until after 50 anyway.
Yeah, I've heard that. I just was like a keener and wanted to get on with it, and somehow it's like
it doesn't really happen.
Couldn't find that life purpose.
It doesn't. I don't think it happens. I think people go through a lot of human experiences. I think that human beings grow through two ways. They grow through pain and they grow through insight. And most people grow through pain until they have an insight that then becomes their vision that pulls them. So I've always taught that pain pushes until the vision pulls. So people will be in pain, trauma, suffering, confusion, and that's pushing them until they have an insight, and then they're pulled.
I would say that's definitely mine. Pain all the way through to insight, and the insight is what pulled me through. When you started having these visions and you started bringing this into the world, bringing the center, your vision, your help you're carrying in the world, was there a point where and you had mentioned earlier that you had conversations with that voice. Mm-hmm. Was there a point where it could have gone either way, where you had to make a decision and then make that decision right?
Well, the only decision I had to make was I going to be like a public person? Because my love for the Spirit was very real and authentic. It was my whole life. I had to give up resistance to actually outing myself out of the closet about what I knew.
Yeah.
I was an introvert, somewhat shy, good personality, but still, I'm good alone. And so I had to give up that resistance, which took a long time. It didn't happen, it didn't happen overnight. I mean, I didn't, when I had initial insight, but it was not, 10 years later, where I began to do something publicly about that. I started off, I was a spiritual therapist. I saw 6 to 8 people every single day, worked with them in consciousness and in prayer to help change their lives. But still, I'm not thinking I'm going to go big. This is enough for me right here, And I started getting these messages that I was playing too small. And then I started having dreams again, And one of the dreams was I was walking down the street, and there was this building that had all of this, the energy of this building was just so beautiful. The music was coming out of it. People were happy. There was a lot of joy. And I was looking at these people come out of this building, and the inner voice said, this is what we want you to do. And in the dream, I was really small. I was really infinitesimally small. And the building was really, really big. And I said, how am I going to do that? And they said, you say yes, and we'll do the rest. So it was breaking down my resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Now, keep in mind, at this time, I'm doing seminars. You know, a lot of stuff that's going on now, I did many, many years ago. In my living room and in bigger spaces and things like that. And I remember at the end of this seminar I was leading, I was sad. And I was trying to see the source of my sadness because people had gone through like 5 weeks with me, sometimes 10, and they were leaving. And I was thinking to myself, wow, they're going to go back out in the world. There's no place for them to get this sustenance. And so I enrolled in the School of Higher Consciousness, Ernest Holmes School of Ministry, not to be a minister. I just wanted to be in conversation with teachers and people at a higher level, not just my students, but other teachers. It took me 5 years to get through a 3-year program because I had no interest in graduating.
Right.
I just wanted to be in the conversation.
You were there for the experience.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
And then one day, the assistant dean says to me, Michael, when are you going to graduate? I said, I'm not here to graduate. I'm just, there were certain teachers that were very powerful, very mystical. I said, no, I just like being in conversation and associating with these kind of people. And she said, do you realize that if you graduate, all the classes are free after that? I said, really? So I took a full load and I graduated.
It's like I graduated tomorrow.
Yeah, I graduated. And at the time I was the director of the the director of training for the World Ministry of Prayer. And I was training the practitioners how to pray when they answered the phone. I had alpha wave biofeedback equipment, and I was training them, showing them that it's not really prayer unless you're achieving certain states of consciousness. This is years ago. You know, this stuff is popular now, but back then it was woo-woo. And so the prayer ministry was growing because I had these people that could get on the phone and actually touch the soul of the person on the other line, and healings would happen.
Right.
And so this particular...
Because of their frequency.
The frequency was high. So this particular department was non-profit. It wasn't to make money. It wasn't a part of a... but after 5 years of me being there, it made $1 million net. And so the CEO called us in, me and 2 other people, and congratulated us on the fact that we made $1 million. And it's never happened before. And I remember him saying very clearly, we're going to help you double that. And I said, you're going to come in and pray with us? And he said, no, I'm a businessman. I'm going to show you how to, how to really make this expand. I said, what do you want us to do? I said, we're going to put a computer on the desk, and we're going to cut down the time that you have with the people. You won't pray for them anymore. You'll just take their name, put it in a basket, and then you can train your people to answer the phone faster. You double the amount of people you're talking to, you're going to double your money. I said, it's not going to work that way.
Right.
I said, if the people aren't engaged at the higher level, higher frequency in prayer, nothing's going to happen, and what we built is going to go away. And so he slammed his hand on the desk, and he said, you know what? I could fire someone and turn this 24-hour operation to a 16-hour operation. And I said, you can do what you want, but as long as I'm here, it's not going to happen. And the 2 people that were with me, they unconsciously moved their chairs away from me. They went, like, we're not with this guy.
That's that. I don't care if I die coming back, that gangster coming back. Right.
And so he walked out the room, and I just sat there. Then he slowly came back and apologized. But I knew my upward mobility was gone at that organization.
Sure.
It was over. Mm-hmm. And I began to get the inner call to start something.
So that was the impetus to start.
Yeah, it was like,
Do you fear anything? Like, do you have fears?
I'm sure I do, but I don't really dwell on them.
Yeah, when a fear comes up, what do you do?
I generally breathe, pray, meditate.
What does prayer mean to you?
Prayer means it's a technology of having an awareness. I'll use this language, having an awareness of what you want, it's already happening.
Right.
So it just moves you into that space.
It's bringing the future to the present.
right into this moment.
Yeah, because time really doesn't exist, and we know that.
I
That's
mean,
just a
there are
construct.
frustrations,
Yeah.
but generally with other people. Especially generally with human beings.
What frustrates you most in your life today?
Well, I don't want to say it. They may view this one day.
I didn't say who. I said
No, it's just if I describe it, they would know who they are.
Yeah. So
Only because they're not bad. They're not bad. Nobody's bad.
No.
It's not evil. Nothing like that. It's just that they live in a different world.
Yeah,
And
I get
so
it.
when they try to work with me, try to control something, they don't really see what I see.
So can I say that somebody trying to control something is
Oh,
frustrating?
absolutely.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's actually really what I was getting at is when somebody tries to put a box around belief or consciousness, that's what frustrates you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Or if they have the words, but they don't have the music.
And the music is what we're here. I mean, we're here in 27-degree Virgo for anybody who wants to know, which is today's a day about taking action to embody change at a global level.
Right.
And one of the things that I would say is that in observing your life from my outside perspective is the majority of people I look talk about spirituality, talk about these things, but you embody them. And embodiment is actually what Virgo is about, what the energy we're in today. It's about embodiment. And that really is what defines you against all of the other people who would be equivalent or peers, is that you really embody everything that you talk about or you believe.
Yeah.
Is that hard sometimes?
It's not hard in terms of fact. I don't have any judgment on people. I can watch people and I can see they know about it. They don't know it yet, but they know about it, and it serves a purpose for people. So I don't have a lot of. It doesn't bother me, I just kind of just smile and look at it, and say, okay, it's wonderful. But I can see. I mean, I remember working with this guy who was big, and he was putting these mega conferences on and all of this stuff, but I could see that he was doing all the techniques, and he knew how to sell, he knew how to pack the place, but I could see he really didn't know the real deal underneath. And then one day he just lost his mind and came crawling into my office for help. And I was able to help him.
But that's actually what your job is to do. Your job is to help guide leaders.
Right.
And you literally have done that for 40 years.
Yeah.
The world's been a pretty crazy place.
Yes.
Over the since 2020. As a matter of fact, I closed down my practice in Los Angeles in December 2019, because I knew that something was coming to the world. Intuition, like yourself.
Yeah.
What's it been like for you since the beginning of the pandemic, and how do you contextualize when you talk about the pandemic to people?
I call the pandemic an apocalyptic moment in which eternity was breaking into time.
Sure.
And it was time for us to go deeper. So at Agape, we had to close our community off to the public. I still did what I did. I still was in the sanctuary talking to no one except for staff members. And the energy that was coming through me at that time was still just as real and as powerful and as authentic as if 1,000 people were sitting there. And so what happened was the community grew online. Now, I was already online, but it grew massively because people were stuck at home. And so today, when I walk around and I go to different places, people will always come up to me and say, "You got me through the pandemic. You got me through the pandemic. I didn't know I needed a voice of sanity. You got me through the pandemic." And people kept wanting me. I had certain people that wanted me to tell people to get vaccinated, and things like that. And other people were telling me to tell people not to get vaccinated and things of that particular nature. So there was a schism in a lot of communities, where here was a community of love, not just my community, but a lot of yogic communities, where division happened based on that one subject, you know. But, you know, we made it through. And so now I'm inviting people, don't just go to these practices or come to a community such as this when there's a crisis. You know, let it be your way of living. Keep going.
I think that's what you said earlier. It's there's a point where the world needed crisis to change, but now we can do it another way.
Yes.
Do you think the pandemic was that turning point for the world?
It was a turning point for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, they had to be by themselves in many cases and discover something within themselves. And so during that particular time, I probably did more work than normal. You know, even though the public aspect was closed, you know, I was teaching, doing programs, being on people's podcasts, trying to lift awareness. And yeah, I think it's an individual thing. Some people used it as a moment to make real change, and some people went back to their old habits. But I think it was a point, an inflection point, to actually make a shift.
In the middle of all these great conversations, sometimes you still need to take a minute to stop and breathe. Let's do that together. We're going to breathe 3 times through the mouth and 3 times through the nose. This is going to activate and rebalance your parasympathetic nervous system so you can absorb more. Breathe in with me through your mouth. 2. 3. Now 3 breaths through the nose. 2. 3. Now with that simple 6-breath reset, you can go back and enjoy more content.
I mean, for me it was.
Yeah.
That I had a clinical practice well known within that space.
Right.
Through celebrities and athletes and people like that could afford us. And then on the pandemic, we just put everything online.
Right.
As a matter of fact, the current Human Garage version, 100% of the worldwide network was built online. We went on a world tour a year and a half ago because we'd never met anybody in our community.
Because it was all online.
We had millions and millions and millions, tens of millions of people around the world, and we'd never met anybody.
Right.
And that was actually very bizarre, to go out and have people that had been along with us and endured with us and knew our story, and we'd never ever physically met any of them.
Yeah. I have that same experience everywhere I go.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we've been watching you for so long, and thank you. But I don't know them, you know, personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that make you uncomfortable?
No. I think it's the right use of technology.
When people come up to you in public, because your demeanor is a lot like mine. I believe in the fact that, like, I'm so open that when people come up to me, I'm at a restaurant, they're like, hey, and they sit down.
Right.
They don't, not like a celebrity that's on TV,
Right.
where they just look and point at them. They actually come and engage with you, right? In
Right.
public?
Oh, sure. It doesn't bother me. Sometimes it bothers people around me. It's like,
Yeah. I got
can you
the
just leave
same
them
thing.
alone for a minute?
So for me, that just tells me it's working.
Yeah.
Is that the way that you contextualize?
It's feedback.
Yeah.
You know, somebody's tuning in from distant country or distant state. It's good feedback. Yeah.
What surprised you the most about your journey? Like, you're looking back at now at your age, and the one thing that goes, well, I didn't really expect that. Is there anything that's in your journey that?
I don't know about events. Sometimes
Or an outcome, like, I became this, I didn't think that.
I'm kind of just always just flowing with myself, so I don't have a lot of shock and surprise about things. I think when I do, I just kind of just work with it. You know, I'm always a little shocked at people, you know, when they don't live up to the highest angels within them.
Yeah. I caught
that-
myself getting angry at people.
That shocks me sometimes. It's like, wait a minute, you've been practicing this for how many years, and you're acting like this?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost a little judgment, but I just kind of like, it's more of a shock and then letting it go.
I caught myself once getting angry at a waitress, and she'd telling her story and ask questions like I do with everybody, and she said, "Yeah, because I'm used goods."
Mm-hmm. She said, "I'm used goods."
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I got angry at her, and and then that was a point that I realized that she was beating herself up, and
Right.
and that would that be a similar kind of way that you feel, like
Yeah,
when somebody does something or not their potential or is negative to themselves.
To a degree, probably not as much now as before.
Mm-hmm.
I probably have a little bit more patience.
What is it? I mean, you're very open, but what is it that people may not know about you that
Probably that I'm a goofball.
I can see that? I mean,
I'm a jokester. I sometimes
you pull pranks on people?
It says what?
Do you pull pranks on people?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
And yeah, they probably don't. When that happens, people are a little shocked because they think I'm going to be like, this serious guy, But I don't take a lot of things seriously. I'm very reverential, but I'm not that serious.
Reverential.
Mm-hmm.
So, Reverend Michael, what does Reverend mean to you?
And I have a lot of titles. I don't take them. I hold them all lightly. I have a reverend. I have a couple of honorary doctorates. I have chief. I'm been knighted, so I have a sir. And
You've been knighted?
Yeah, I've been knighted.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's an organization that knights you based on your service to humanity.
Sure.
So I appreciate all those titles, but I don't define myself by those titles. I am a servant of the light. I'm a servant of God. I'm here to be of service. I'm here to help touch people so that they can wake up to their real nature and being. And every title is cool. It just means that somebody recognized as something. Mm-hmm. What was the question right before that?
Reverend.
Oh, what does that mean? I think I have a reverence for life.
Yeah.
I love life. I love life. I love the planet. I love people. I love animals. I love trees. It's that kind of reverence.
Yeah.
And then yes, I went to the school. I got a degree.
But I love the use of that word, the way you used it. I can see that you, before we got in, I said I have strong views loosely held.
Yes.
That's your way of looking at things.
Yes,
right?
absolutely. You become aware of your opinions, but you don't let them run you.
Yeah.
Because then you'll become opinionated. Your perception will shrink, and you won't see the evidence of where you may be wrong. As most people, they can't see it.
I like to be shown wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I argue with it until I'm shown wrong, and
Right.
then I'm like, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Because I like to have strong feedback to show me that I'm wrong. Because I want to be committed all the way to the point where I'm changing my mind.
Right. Yeah, but you have a desire for continued growth.
Yes, I do.
And many people that are in their protective cocoon have a desire to be right,
Yeah.
not just to grow. So you can give them evidence, and they'll use that evidence to go deeper into their lie. Human beings are interesting.
Interesting. Yes, they are. Do you ever get sad when you're well, actually, that's not the right way to ask it, because that's not who you are. Do you feel sadness when you look at where people are at in the world right now, or do you feel excitement?
Combo. I feel very enthusiastic. I feel very optimistic. And as you know, an optimist is not a person that doesn't believe there aren't any issues, just a person that knows that there's a solution to every issue. And when I see the wars and kids being killed, and like we're here in Bali, and only 3% of the trees are left, and which allowed for this great flood to take place here because there's no roots. You see just this old consciousness of might makes right, old consciousness of greed, making the decisions. It gives me pause. It's like, come on, humanity, let's wake up a little faster.
Do you think the world's splitting into two?
That's what it appears like.
I feel that.
Yeah, that's what it appears like.
Astrologically, it actually says the world is splitting into two.
Yeah. And it's supposed to be a great, these next few weeks is supposed to be a great energetic shift that takes place.
There is.
That will match your intention. And if your intention is to be a server, you'll be in a different frequency of a different world. And if not, you'll be in a different frequency of another world.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, that's going to happen all the way through Libra and Scorpio, and then come out like a bullet train at the end of November into Sagittarius.
Yeah.
Where it shoots like an arrow.
Yeah.
Out. Yeah, I subscribe to that. I believe so much, not in the mysticism of astrology, but in the numbers and the way, and that's what I've just followed it.
Right.
I saw the stock crash the market crash in 2000, the housing crash in 2008, the telecom crash in 2003. These are all things I was highly involved in, and I looked at numbers as a way to make those. And I think numbers is kind of, well, people always ask me why I ask everybody their astrology.
Right. You're going to the numbers and the frequency.
Yeah, and one of the things that I love is that I know how everything puts together. I know everybody who touches me, and the impossibility of some of these things. Like I was out meeting with a really famous tennis player at Wimbledon. I won't use the name because I keep getting in trouble when I use the name by the media. But when I was there, we were going back and forth in these Ubers, and literally almost every Uber driver was a Gemini. And like, what are the possibilities when you're in London that could happen? And what I say to people is, that's how I see God. I see God through the improbability of interactions, and where it's improbable for these things to happen.
Right. So you're seeing life miraculous, like a miracle.
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day. It's for me, and I'm like a little kid.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? It was like, I met you 2 days ago.
Right.
2 days ago was 26 karmic.
Right.
Karmic embodiment is when I met you physically in person, and we're in Virgo to bring it into the world. and you're a 29 degree, and I'm a 29 degree. And I've spent the last 6 years of my life looking for people with these numbers. So what are the chances that I'd meet you on a karmic day?
1,000%.
Exactly.
That's what a friend of ours says.
Yeah.
It's impossible not to happen.
It's impossible not to happen. So it's obvious that there's an awakening happening.
Yes.
If you were to put it on a scale, where are we now?
Between what and what?
In humanity awakening or not awakening?
When you say a scale,
Well,
in terms of awakening or not awakening?
Yeah.
Oh, so awakening is definitely happening.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. People are understanding. I mean, you have all these codes that have occurred through weird movies like The Matrix and things like that.
By the way, that's where that first thing we do is a belly button torque. And I don't know if you remember The Matrix.
Yes.
The first thing they do is we put that thing on the belly button.
Right.
That was no accident.
Yeah. So people are they're aware. People are starting to become aware that they're in a simulation. You know this is what's funny to me. People will get the machines to be in a simulation, and they forget they're already in one. So
I'm in a simulation, watching my simulation.
Right. So I think as meditation and things like that are now, coming into manifestation in our world, people are starting to wake up. In the beginning, as we talked about earlier, they don't know what it is. They don't know what's happening to them. They think they're going crazy. There's a lot of confusion, a lot of breakdown before breakthrough. So yeah, I think we're in a global awakening. Yeah.
What's the body's role in spiritual practices and raising our consciousness?
Many levels. The body's an optic nerve, and so
your spiritual optic nerve.
Yeah, it's like when everything is in alignment, your body's full of light. The luminosity flows through all the channels. So the body is an instrument to reflect and reveal that which is invisible in the visible.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And the way I see it is actually through the fascia. The fascia is the interconnected, it's a communication from the outside world to the inside world. And what they're purposely doing, even Wi-Fi itself dehydrates our fascia.
Yeah.
chemicals in the sky dehydrate our fascia, making that layer between the invisible and the visible not so permeable. So it's blocking us.
Blocking. It's actually that what you're describing is blocking people's ascension, for lack of a better word, their awakening.
Yeah.
So they have to do certain things.
They're doing it. There is a blocking.
Yeah. And so people have to do certain things to detox and to protect themselves.
Well, these maneuvers that we do, like the sync-up we did, they actually restore the flow in the fascia. And there's no other movement process in the world that I know that does it. That's how I had an intuition to awaken.
Right.
But my connection to myself, my higher self, my God, my creator, the universe, came through
the body.
The
temple,
body.
The fascia. Yeah.
And that's what I'm here doing.
That's your genius.
That's my stick.
Yeah.
How do you see people reclaiming sovereignty over their minds in a time of fear and distraction?
It's interesting that you say that, because my podcast is called Take Back Your Mind.
Right.
Which
I think that's why we asked it.
Oh. Which is about reclaiming your sovereignty and not allowing yourself to be a puppet on the strings of mass consciousness or media or past teachings of things of that particular nature. And that's going to come through intention and practice. Everyone has people are having more of an intention to wake up, but if it's not connected to action, if it's not connected to practice,
right?
Then
it's just the falsehood that we talked about. The guru, like they're doing it in their minds and they're saying it, but they're not doing it in their lives and their body.
Yeah, they have to have some level of practice, so that practice becomes a way of life. So the way I look at it is, you have a belief. Let's say we believe that we're one with God, we're one with the universe. That's a great belief. When we're in unity with all people, that's a good belief. But then that belief has to have some level of practice. And then that practice yields an insight. And then that insight will yield some kind of action, some kind of change that will become a way of living. And you have many people that want to, get high really fast, or, to have some big experience. But unless there is some way of living or some practice, even if they have a tremendous insight, as we talked about earlier, they won't be able to hold it because they don't have a way of life that's congruent with the energy trying to come through.
That's what you said about your spine and the blockage in your heart.
Right.
That is literally the journey I'm on to help people.
Yes.
Because if the flow isn't in their body, their fascia, they can't bring that gift into consciousness.
Absolutely.
From consciousness into reality.
Absolutely.
If you could only give one truth, one practice, or one message to the world.
One truth, one practice, one message. The one truth is that we are emanations of the only life that there is. That we're never separated. So so we are it. We are the emanation of the one life. And when you say one truth and one what?
One truth and one practice.
I think ultimately your life becomes your practice. So it can include different modalities.
So if your life is your practice, it's like, don't take it so seriously because you're still practicing.
Yeah, don't take it seriously, take it reverential.
Yeah, reverential.
Have a reverence about your life. Have a reverence about your body temple. It's called the body temple for a particular reason.
Yeah.
It's a temple. Keep it clean. Keep it well-oiled, exercised.
Well, I see a lot of people exercising and keeping their physical bodies clean, and they're really good at it. But their emotional, spiritual bodies are...
It's all the bodies.
Yeah.
It's emotional body, mental body. All the bodies have to come under the spiritual authority of the celestial body, so you can carry more of the energy. So, yeah.
What's the most surprising thing on your path of spiritual leadership? Because leadership, being in a spiritual path and then being a leader is very different.
And so you asked me, what's the most surprising
thing on your path of being a spiritual leader?
Well, I think that spiritual leadership, as I have colleagues, I have friends and associates, is a slippery slope. And that once you are in the eye, you're in the public's eye, or you're in leadership, you have to constantly come back to what brought you there in the first place, which is service, which is loving the sacred. And it's a slippery slope because then there's other things that come in. that can grab your attention.
Yeah.
So you have to always come back to what brought you there in the first place, so you're not lost in the sauce of materialism or fame or celebrity or things of that particular nature.
I mean, we could talk for hours, and I'm going to come to LA because I want to spend hours talking to you, moving with you, being with you. You inspire me on so many levels. As somebody who's been walking that journey longer than I
Yes.
have, your midheaven is 8 degrees Capricorn, which is spiritual teacher of karma.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is 7 degrees Capricorn, which is the spiritual teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like in my own world, I'm coming together with you today
Mm-hmm.
because of the place I am in the world and where I'm going in the world. And there's not a lot of people, to be honest with you, that I actually I feel like I can counsel with, or I can work with in that way. But you're definitely that person. You embody everything that the world looks at. Like, you're not just words, you're a full embodiment of it, which I appreciate.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you don't need me to tell you that either. But
I'm always on the edge of greater discovery, too.
yeah.
But I know what I know.
Yes.
It's not conjecture or belief, and I know what I know.
Yeah. You don't need to prove it to yourself.
Right, no.
I want to appreciate you for taking your time and sharing this little piece of you with our audience. And I look forward to getting to know you more and to unveiling and unraveling some more of this magic wisdom that you have.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you.
But obviously, we're here at a summit, and time is precious. But we're here together because I obviously felt something about you, to spend time with you. So,
Yeah.
right back at you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks for tuning in, and if you enjoyed this content, follow us on social media channels, The Human Garage Experience, Apple, Spotify, and all other channels. We're on a mission to inspire 1 billion people worldwide, and the way that you participate is by liking, subscribing, and sharing our content. Every share that you take brings us one step closer to that billion people. This has been a fantastic episode. We enjoyed presenting it to you. Be a part of this worldwide revolution and share it now.